Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we talking about on how to control your sense of pain and pleasure. Pain and pleasure are the most primal forces guiding every decision you make, whether you realize it or not. They form the foundation of your behavior, habits, motivation, and resilience. To control your sense of pain and pleasure, you must first understand them not as punishments or rewards given by life, but as signals, precise biological indicators that tell you where you stand and where you could go next. This is your internal compass. Unfortunately, most people never pause long enough to understand how deeply it steers their life. They react impulsively to discomfort, they chase fleeting pleasures, and they wonder why they feel unfulfilled despite the constant pursuit of comfort. Your nervous system is wired to move you away from pain and toward pleasure. This wiring kept our ancestors alive. It made them flee predators, seek warmth, find food, and bond with others. But today, this same wiring often traps us. It makes us avoid challenging conversations, abandon hard work, and seek instant gratification from our screens and sugar. This is where your power lies, knowing that your brain's natural settings do not always serve your highest self, especially in the modern world. When you feel pain, physical or emotional, your body is saying, pay attention. That pain could mean a muscle needs rest, a relationship needs mending, or your life needs a new direction. Yet instead of listening, many numb that signal with distractions, scrolling endlessly, consuming substances, or staying busy just to avoid silence. On the other hand, pleasure is your brain's way of rewarding survival behavior. When you eat nourishing food, achieve a goal, or connect deeply with another person, dopamine and other chemicals flood your system, telling you, yes, this helps you live and thrive. Do more of this. But the modern world hijacks this compass with artificial shortcuts. Highly processed foods, digital entertainment, and addictive substances give you pleasure without effort or meaning. They confuse your compass, rewarding you for doing nothing that truly sustains you in the long run. This is how people get stuck in cycles of overindulgence and avoidance. Overindulgence in cheap pleasures, avoidance of necessary pain. To reclaim your power, you must train yourself to read your compass wisely. Not every pain should be avoided, and not every pleasure should be pursued. When you feel the sting of failure, don't see it as an attack. See it as feedback. What is this discomfort telling you? Maybe it's urging you to prepare better next time. Maybe it's inviting you to change direction or strengthen a weakness. If you numb it or run from it, you lose the lesson and repeat the same mistakes. When you feel pleasure, pause and ask what produced this feeling. Did you earn it through growth, discipline, and meaningful action? Or did you grab it through easy escapes that leave you emptier afterward? Once you understand your internal compass at this level, you stop being at its mercy. You start to see that the goal is not to eliminate pain or chase endless pleasure. The goal is to guide these forces so they serve you. Pain becomes a teacher, not a tormentor. Pleasure becomes a motivator, not a master. You get to decide which signals to amplify and which ones to override with your higher purpose. This requires daily awareness. When you wake up tired, do you skip the workout because it's uncomfortable? Or do you choose a version that respects your limits yet honors your commitment to growth? When you crave junk food late at night, do you blindly obey your craving? Or do you pause and remember your vision for health and vitality? Each small moment of choice is a chance to practice controlling this compass. The truth is, life will always throw pain your way. Loss, rejection, uncertainty. It will also tempt you with pleasures that distract you from your mission. But if you build the habit of listening deeply to what your pain really wants to teach you and what your pleasure is truly rewarding, you take back the steering wheel. You can drive your life instead of being driven by hidden urges and fears. So understand this compass and keep calibrating it. It will never be perfect, but your awareness sharpens it every single day. With time, you will see that you are not the victim of your feelings. You are the navigator of your own experience, able to steer through storms of discomfort and to chart courses toward lasting fulfillment. Understanding this compass is the first and most vital step to mastering yourself and living with true freedom. One of the greatest breakthroughs you can make on your journey to mastering your sense of pain and pleasure is realizing that pain and suffering are not the same thing. This distinction is ancient wisdom echoed in modern neuroscience. Pain is a physical or emotional sensation, while suffering is the mental story and resistance you attach to that sensation. You cannot completely erase pain from life, but you can dramatically reduce or even eliminate suffering by changing how you relate to pain. Pain is a fact. It's your nervous system's signal that something needs attention. It might be the sharp ache in your knee after a long run, the sting of betrayal when a friend lets you down, or the hollow feeling in your chest after a loss. Pain happens. It is raw information from your body and mind. It can be measured, studied, and at times treated or healed. Suffering, however, is what happens next. The mental loop, the rumination, the fear that it will never end, the frustration that it shouldn't be happening to you, the thoughts that tell you life is unfair. This mental resistance and embellishment create suffering. To separate physical pain from suffering, you must become a conscious observer of your mind. Take, for example, the experience of an athlete training for a marathon. The pain in the muscles is real. It signals that the tissue is working, tearing microscopically and rebuilding stronger. If the runner accepts this pain as necessary and purposeful, they do not suffer. They even welcome it, wearing it as a badge of growth. But imagine another person with the same muscle pain who tells themselves, "This hurts so much, I can't take it. I'm weak. I'll never be good at this." Now, the same physical sensation is layered with anxiety and self-criticism, multiplying the discomfort and creating unnecessary suffering. This applies to emotional pain as well. A heartbreak is real pain. The loss of a loved one or the end of a relationship will always hurt. But when you attach endless questions, why me? What did I do wrong? Will I ever feel whole again? You prolong and deepen the agony. The mind replays scenes, imagines alternative endings, and turns pain into an endless loop. The moment you stop feeding that mental loop, suffering begins to fade, and only the clean wound of pain remains. That pain can heal naturally given time and acceptance. Meditation, mindfulness, and breathwork are powerful tools for separating pain from suffering. These practices teach you to sit with raw sensations without adding judgment or narrative. Imagine sitting quietly and simply noticing, this is tightness in my chest. This is heat in my shoulders. This is heaviness in my stomach. No story, no labels like bad or unbearable, just sensation. In this moment, you realize you can endure far more than your mind wants you to believe. Modern science supports this ancient practice. Studies show that people who learn to observe pain mindfully activate different brain regions than people who catastrophize it. Their perception changes. The pain signal might still exist, but its emotional impact shrinks. This is why soldiers, elite athletes, monks, and even patients enduring chronic illness can live with high levels of pain, yet maintain an unshakable calm. They have mastered the art of separating pain from suffering. One practical way to apply this is to welcome small doses of discomfort daily. Take cold showers. Hold a plank a few seconds longer than feels comfortable. Fast for a few hours beyond your normal mealtime. In these moments, watch your mind. Notice when it starts to scream, "Stop, I hate this," and remind yourself, this is just sensation. Your breath becomes your anchor. You learn that you are more than your discomfort. This habit rewires your brain's relationship with pain. Over time, you develop trust in yourself to handle life's inevitable hardships without adding layers of unnecessary mental. Another aspect is changing your language. Words matter. Notice how you describe your pain. Do you say, "This is killing me," or do you say, "This is intense, but it's temporary"? The way you speak shapes the way your brain processes the signal. Even subtle shifts in language can reduce suffering dramatically. People who master this art become incredibly resilient. They don't fear discomfort anymore. They know that pain may visit, but suffering needs an invitation, and they don't send it. They accept reality as it is, without endless complaints or pity. This frees up enormous energy to focus on solutions, growth, and joy, even during hard times. Separating physical pain from suffering doesn't mean you become numb or indifferent. It means you gain freedom from the mental trap that turns a cut into a catastrophe or a setback into self-torture. It means you build a mind that can feel deeply, yet remain clear and unshaken. It means you meet life on its terms with courage and calm. This understanding is a cornerstone for mastering your experience and rising above the noise of your restless mind. To truly master your sense of pain and pleasure, you must understand dopamine, one of the most powerful chemicals governing motivation and reward in your brain. Dopamine is not just a pleasure chemical, as many people casually label it. It is actually the neurotransmitter of anticipation, drive, and reinforcement. It pushes you to act and then rewards you when you achieve or experience something meaningful. Understanding how to use dopamine wisely can turn you from someone who is controlled by cravings and distractions into someone who channels motivation with precision. In the modern world, dopamine is constantly hijacked. Food companies engineer snacks that hit your taste buds with the perfect mix of salt, sugar, and fat, flooding your brain with dopamine. Social media platforms serve endless short videos and notifications designed to spike dopamine over and over, each scroll or click giving you a tiny reward. Streaming platforms autoplay the next episode so you don't even need to lift a finger to get another hit. This cheap dopamine creates a cycle where your brain learns to expect quick pleasure without real effort. Over time, your motivation for more meaningful, effortful goals weakens because your dopamine system becomes desensitized and scattered. Using dopamine wisely starts with understanding this trap and reclaiming your ability to control what you attach dopamine to. High performers, elite athletes, dedicated artists, and resilient entrepreneurs all have this in common. They learn to tie dopamine to the process rather than the outcome. Instead of waiting for a big payoff at the end, they find ways to enjoy the daily grind, the struggle, and even the failures along the way. This approach fuels motivation continuously instead of in short, unsatisfying bursts. One way to do this is to break big goals into tiny daily wins and to actually celebrate those small victories. Each time you do, you train your brain to release dopamine for the effort itself. If your goal is to write a book, don't wait to feel happy only when the manuscript is done. Feel rewarded when you write a good paragraph today. Feel good when you sit down on time to write, even if you don't hit the word count. This teaches your nervous system that discipline and consistency are worth celebrating, so you crave showing up again tomorrow. Another important aspect is controlling your baseline dopamine. If you constantly chase high peaks, fast food, constant scrolling, endless TV shows, your baseline drops. This means normal activities like reading, studying, or working on your goals feel boring and uninteresting because your brain is starved for the next big spike. To fix this, you must reset your dopamine system. Take breaks from cheap rewards. This might mean doing a dopamine detox, a day or weekend where you unplug from screens, processed snacks, and unnecessary noise. During this time, ordinary things start to feel rewarding again. A walk in nature, deep work on a project, a real conversation. Physical exercise is also a powerful way to use dopamine wisely. When you push your body through effort, especially uncomfortable effort, your brain releases dopamine to reward that exertion. This is why runners feel the runner's high and why people often get addicted to the gym in a healthy way. You can hack this consciously by reminding yourself during exercise, this discomfort is my brain's signal to release more strength and more focus. You start to link effort with positive reinforcement. Mindset plays a huge role too. If you view a task as an obligation or punishment, your brain resists. If you frame the same task as a meaningful step toward a vision you care about, dopamine works for you. For example, cleaning your home can feel boring until you see it as a ritual for mental clarity and self-respect. Studying for an exam feels dreadful until you connect it with a dream job or a breakthrough opportunity. This reframing is not magic, it's a practical way to guide your brain's reward system in your favor. One advanced method is to intentionally delay gratification in small ways. When you resist the urge for instant rewards, your brain becomes more resilient and your dopamine system becomes more robust. Try resisting checking your phone first thing in the morning. Wait an extra hour before eating that favorite snack. Complete a hard task before you allow yourself a break. These small acts of discipline strengthen your control over dopamine and build grit. When you learn to use dopamine wisely, you stop letting it push you around. You become someone who finds joy in discipline, fulfillment in the process, and resilience in setbacks. Your mind stops chasing empty highs and starts creating sustainable motivation for goals that matter deeply to you. This is one of the most crucial skills for taking command of your pain and pleasure and transforming your life into something extraordinary and deeply rewarding each day. One of the most powerful shifts you can make in mastering your sense of pain and pleasure is to reframe pain not as a punishment, but as undeniable evidence that you are growing. Pain is often misunderstood and feared, avoided at all costs, and even seen as a sign of failure or weakness. But if you study the lives of people who achieve extraordinary resilience and fulfillment, you'll notice a common pattern. They learn to see pain as the very forge that shapes their strength and reveals their hidden potential. Reframing pain as growth changes how you approach your challenges, setbacks, and discomforts, and it makes you unstoppable in your pursuit of meaningful goals. Biologically, pain is a signal that something in your body or mind is being pushed beyond its current limits. When you lift a heavy weight, your muscles experience microscopic tears. That pain is the body's immediate signal that tissue is under stress. If you recover properly, those fibers rebuild stronger, more capable of handling future loads. Without that pain, the growth wouldn't happen. Similarly, mental or emotional pain works the same way. A heartbreak, a rejection, or a failure at work exposes parts of your character, beliefs, or skills that need strengthening. If you face it head on and learn from it, you rebuild your mental fabric tougher than before. The reason most people fail to grow from pain is not because pain is unbearable, but because they see it through a negative lens. They believe it's unfair, meaningless, or a sign they are not good enough. This perception creates resistance, and resistance amplifies suffering, while blocking the lesson hidden within the discomfort. To reframe pain as growth, you must start to view every pain as information and as an opportunity to expand your limits. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" That single shift transforms pain from an enemy into a teacher. Imagine an entrepreneur whose business idea fails. The financial loss is painful, the disappointment stings, and the ego takes a hit. Most people would give up, seeing this pain as proof they are not cut out for the game. But a wise person leans into the pain. They examine what went wrong. Did they misjudge the market? Did they manage time or people poorly? Did they fail to adapt quickly enough? The pain pinpoints weaknesses that, once strengthened, prepare them for future success. They don't just survive the setback. They emerge sharper and more resourceful. Athletes, too, live this mindset daily. Training pain, the burning lungs during sprints, the trembling muscles during weightlifting, these are not enemies to avoid. They are signs of the edge being pushed further, the body transforming into something stronger. In fact, well-trained athletes often welcome a certain level of discomfort because they know that without it, progress halts. They have conditioned their minds to interpret pain as a reliable companion on the road to excellence. This reframing applies beautifully to personal life challenges as well. Consider emotional pain from conflicts in relationships. Disagreements, misunderstandings, and hurt feelings can cause deep discomfort. But hidden within that pain is valuable information about communication styles, emotional triggers, and unmet needs. If you approach the situation with curiosity instead of avoidance, you gain insight that makes future connections healthier and deeper. The pain becomes the raw material for wisdom and emotional maturity. Practical daily habits can reinforce this mindset shift. One simple practice is to intentionally do hard things that stretch your tolerance for discomfort. Wake up earlier than you want to. Take a cold shower. Speak up in a meeting, even if your voice shakes. Each time you lean into a controlled dose of pain, you teach your nervous system to stop panicking and start cooperating. You send a message to yourself, I can handle this. And through it, I become more capable. Another tool is journaling your pain experiences. When something hurts, physically or emotionally, write down what happened, how it made you feel, and what lesson or insight you can extract from it. Over time, you'll build a written record that proves how much growth came directly from moments of discomfort. This evidence makes it harder for your mind to slip back into old patterns of avoidance or victimhood. Language once again plays a vital role. How you describe pain to yourself and others influences whether it drains you or drives you. Instead of saying, I hate this pain, try, this is my edge being tested. This is how I grow. Words program your brain's perception, and perception shapes reality. Choose your words carefully, especially in the middle of hardship. Reframing pain as growth does not mean seeking unnecessary suffering or ignoring true harm. It means recognizing that most of life's discomforts, whether a tough workout, an uncomfortable truth, a failed attempt, or a challenging conversation, are not punishments, but invitations to evolve. When you stop resisting and start accepting pain as a messenger, you reclaim power over your mind and body. You no longer run from discomfort. You use it as fuel. Pain becomes proof that you are not stagnant, but alive, engaged, and steadily becoming a stronger, wiser version of yourself. Mastering your sense of pain and pleasure is not just about enduring pain or chasing meaningful pleasure, but about understanding the power of contrast and consciously balancing it in your life. Human beings are wired to respond to relative changes, not absolute states. This means your nervous system does not evaluate pleasure or pain in isolation, but always in comparison to what came before or what you expect next. When you deeply understand this principle, you gain a profound tool. By balancing the contrast between comfort and discomfort, you amplify both your resilience and your appreciation for simple joys. Think about something as basic as a hot shower after a cold day. The warmth feels luxurious because you experienced cold first. The hot water by itself is ordinary, but its contrast with cold turns it into pleasure. This applies to every area of your life. If you live in constant comfort, perfect temperature, endless entertainment, abundant food, your baseline shifts. Over time, ordinary comfort stops feeling pleasurable. You become numb to it. Small discomforts then feel unbearable. Conversely, if you intentionally introduce moderate discomfort into your routine, you expand your capacity to endure and you heighten your sensitivity to life's simple pleasures. People who thrive in demanding fields, from elite soldiers to peak performing artists, understand this principle intuitively or through rigorous training. They know that deliberate exposure to discomfort toughens the mind and resets the reward system. Cold exposure, fasting, silence retreats, intense physical training, and digital detoxes are all modern expressions of this ancient truth. If you can tolerate voluntary hardship, involuntary hardship loses much of its power over you. Moreover, ordinary pleasures, warm food after fasting, calm after chaos, rest after exertion, become deeply satisfying again. Balancing contrast does not mean swinging wildly between extreme deprivation and indulgence. It means applying small, intentional doses of discomfort to maintain mental sharpness and to keep pleasure meaningful. For example, instead of always seeking perfect conditions to work, sometimes choose a slightly less comfortable setting. Stand while you type. Work in silence without background noise. Turn off notifications. Instead of eating to fullness every meal, try stopping before you are completely satisfied. These are tiny tests that build discipline and make you appreciate abundance without becoming a slave to it. Another way to balance contrast is to regularly pause pleasure to preserve its impact. Take breaks from your favorite treats or habits. If you drink coffee daily, skip it for a few days. If you love streaming shows, take a week off. Notice how the anticipation and enjoyment return when you reintroduce it. This is not about denying yourself joy. It is about guarding it from becoming stale and unremarkable through overexposure. Neuroscience confirms that continuous stimulation of dopamine pathways leads to tolerance. You need more of the same stimulus to get the same effect. Interrupting pleasure resets the pathways, making them responsive again. Consider your physical training. If you do the same workout every day, your muscles adapt and your mind becomes bored. But if you cycle between hard days and recovery days, or between different kinds of exercises, you keep your body guessing and your mind engaged. This cycle of exertion and recovery is a natural contrast that optimizes growth and prevents burnout. In the same way, your entire life should follow a rhythm of stress and rest, effort and reward, discomfort and comfort. Relationships benefit from this balance too. Constant availability can dull appreciation. Time apart or individual space, even in healthy, intimate relationships, refreshes connection. Absence creates a subtle discomfort that sharpens presence when you reunite. It is contrast at work in the emotional realm. When you learn to manage it intentionally, you deepen intimacy rather than taking it for granted. A vital part of balancing contrast is your mindset toward both ends of the spectrum. Many people fear discomfort and cling to comfort. They treat any deviation from ease as a problem to fix immediately. But if you shift your mindset to see discomfort as a tool for growth and comfort as a well-earned reward, you stop being reactive. You become proactive, designing your days with periods of challenge and periods of restoration. This makes you adaptable. You stop panicking when life throws an unexpected hardship because your system is already trained to handle rough edges without losing balance. Journaling is another practical way to monitor your balance. At the end of each week, reflect. Where did I lean too much into comfort? Where did I push too hard without recovery? What small adjustments can I make next week to maintain a healthy contrast? This self-awareness fine-tunes your daily routine and prevents extremes from becoming habits that drain your energy or numb your joy. Balancing the contrast is not about punishment or self-denial. It is about staying awake to life. It is a commitment to feeling fully, to tasting the depth of simple moments, and to sharpening your ability to stay steady, no matter how comfort or discomfort fluctuates. With practice, you create a resilient, grateful mind that does not fear pain and does not depend on endless pleasure to feel alive. At the core of mastering your sense of pain and pleasure is developing the ability to be the observer of your own experience instead of a slave to every impulse, craving, or discomfort that arises. This is not just philosophical talk. It is a profound psychological and neurobiological practice. Most people live in a state of reactivity. A feeling appears and they obey it without question. If it feels good, they chase it. If it feels bad, they run from it. This automatic cycle governs their days, shapes their habits, and quietly controls the entire direction of their lives. To break free from this autopilot existence, you must train the part of your mind that watches thoughts and sensations without immediately acting on them. Being the observer means creating a gap between stimulus and response. It means when pain shows up, whether it's the burn in your legs during a run or the sting of an insult, you notice it as a signal rather than a command. It means when pleasure tempts you, like the urge to scroll your phone instead of finishing your work, you see it clearly, but decide whether following that urge serves your deeper goals. In this space of awareness, real freedom lives. You regain the power to choose your actions instead of being driven by ancient wiring and fleeting emotions. Mindfulness and meditation are the most direct training grounds for this skill. In meditation, you sit with your breath and simply observe whatever comes up: an itch, a worry, a pleasant memory, a wave of boredom. The practice is not to suppress any of it, but to see it for what it is: a temporary event in your mind or body. You notice how sensations rise, peak, and fade on their own. You discover that pain does not need a dramatic story attached to it, and pleasure does not need to hijack your entire focus. Over time, this practice builds a robust mental muscle that shows up automatically in daily life. Consider how this works in a practical scenario. Imagine you are working toward a challenging goal: studying for an exam, building a business, training for a marathon. Along the way, you will inevitably encounter pain, boredom, fatigue, self-doubt. You will also encounter tempting pleasures, procrastination, distractions, comfort foods. If you are the slave, you will react, skip studying, quit training, abandon focus at the first sign of discomfort. But if you are the observer, you pause when the urge hits. You feel the discomfort fully, but do not flinch. You hear the thought, "Let's just relax and do this tomorrow," but you do not obey it blindly. You watch it float by like a cloud. Then you act based on your values and commitments, not your passing moods. Neuroscience supports the power of this approach. Studies show that when people develop the habit of mindful observation, they strengthen the prefrontal cortex, the rational decision-making part of the brain, and weaken the grip of the amygdala, which drives fear and impulsive reactions. This means the more you practice being the observer, the more you biologically rewire yourself to respond calmly under stress and to resist temptations that sabotage long-term goals. Another layer of being the observer is learning to question your inner dialogue. Much of suffering comes not just from sensations, but from the thoughts we automatically believe. Thoughts like, "I can't handle this pain," or "I need this pleasure now," feel true when we are identified with them. But when you step back and watch them as mental events, you see they are just suggestions, not truths. You can thank your brain for its input and still choose a wiser action. This is the essence of self-mastery, the freedom to act with intention, not reaction. Small daily rituals can reinforce this mindset. When you feel an itch to check your phone while working, pause. Take 3 slow breaths and watch the craving without judgment. Often you will see it dissolve by itself. When you feel anger bubbling during a tough conversation, observe where it sits in your body instead of lashing out. By practicing these micropauses, you prove to yourself again and again that you are bigger than any feeling or thought that comes and goes. Journaling is another powerful tool. Write down moments when you reacted automatically and reflect on how you could have paused and observed instead. Celebrate the times you caught yourself and made a conscious choice. This record becomes evidence that you are not a helpless puppet to your emotions, but a skilled navigator of them. Being the observer does not mean suppressing or denying your humanity. You still feel deeply, you still experience highs and lows, but you stand one step back from the drama, steady and awake. You watch joy without clinging to it and sit with pain without collapsing under it. You develop an inner anchor that no external event can shake easily. This state creates profound mental clarity, emotional resilience, and a sense of freedom that no amount of wealth or comfort alone can offer. When you become the observer of your own pain and pleasure, you reclaim the throne of your mind.